We're here to do a job, and right now that job is to destroy, to kill the enemy to the best of our ability, and this I like to think we're doing.
We cleared the town, we rounded up the males of military age, and we intend to remain here in this town and make it a loyal, pacified city.
The Viet Cong are real enough. On these patrols, you nearly always have the feeling that you're being observed by an unseen enemy.
Numerous snipers here, there, and everywhere, and it makes it difficult to even tell where the shot comes from. It's a new kind of warfare for the Marine Corps.
Inevitably, comparisons are being drawn between Danang and Dien Bien Phu, the battlefield where the French were so crushingly defeated by the Viet Minh 11 years ago. Could the same disaster which struck the French also overtake the Americans?
This is Danang, a smelly, sweaty seaport on the South China Sea, only 100 miles from the 17th parallel, which forms the frontier with Communist North Vietnam. It used to be a foreign legion town, and most of the elder people speak a few words of French. But now the children are learning English, American English. For Danang has become one of the key American bases in South Vietnam. It's a town of rich and varied smells, and it fairly reeks of war. It's easy to forget that the people of Vietnam have suffered war for 20 years. First it was the Japanese who fought here, then the French, and now it's the turn of the Americans. All the souvenirs in the shops seem to be of war too. You can buy Western-style revolver holsters and slouch hats in almost every street. And any tailor will run you up a suit of jungle green for only a few hundred piastres.
In this area, generally, the United States has about 14,500 Marines. 9,000 of them engaged solely in defending Danang Air Base. And there's a lot more where they come from. For the total strength of the US Marine Corps is about 190,000, which is bigger than the whole of the British Army. And it's a complete fighting unit in itself with tanks, artillery, and its own jet fighters and bombers. Inevitably, comparisons are being drawn between Danang and Dien Bien Phu, the battlefield where the French were so crushingly defeated by the Viet Minh, predecessors of the Viet Cong, 11 years ago. Is there in fact a parallel? Could the same disaster which struck the French also overtake the Americans? To answer that question, let's first take a look at the base and its marine defenders.
There are two towns in Danang, the Oriental Port, and then close by, but belonging to an entirely different world, the very western base, a great complex of hangars, tents and supply dumps, all there to maintain the squadrons of supersonic jets and the fleets of transport aircraft. The build-up of hardware, as the Americans say, is highly impressive. Danang is the launching pad for many of the almost daily airstrikes against North Vietnam, and it must be one of the busiest military airfields in the world. Hardly a minute passes without some aircraft coming in or taking off. Jet fighters are always on alert to counter any strike on the airfield, and backing them up is a squadron of Hawk ground-to-air missiles perched on Hill 327 above Danang. The Hawks are here to protect Danang Air Base from an attack by Russian-built MiGs, and they're just about the most effective ground-to-air anti-aircraft missile there is. Once the battery's radar has picked up the incoming enemy, the computerized system locks on in such a way that every change of speed and direction is automatically countered. And once they've been launched, there's no aircraft in the world that can get away from them. All around the perimeter of this tempting target, Marine sentries keep watch for the elusive and mostly invisible Viet Cong. So far, the sentries have been attacked only by the sun and mosquitoes, bar one man who was grazed by an arrow from a crossbow. Under the muzzles of the Marines' guns, the infinitely patient peasants of Vietnam toil away in their rice fields. One thing at least is sure: whoever's gaining from this slow, cruel war, it's not the Vietnamese peasant. Brigadier General Frederick Karsh, who until recently commanded the Marine Expeditionary Brigade in Vietnam, defines the role of the Marines here.
Well, actually, the program that is going here is just starting. We're just getting underway. The build-up that we have had to get it underway has not only been one of bringing the troops in, but getting the troops acclimated to the weather, to the people, to the type operation. This is completely different from anything that you could visualize as a normal type warfare, in that the identification of friend and foe is something that is quite alien to a normal operation.
The Marines are eager to fight the war in Vietnam for a number of reasons. There's nothing they like more in their professional capacity than a beach. South Vietnam is really a glorified beach with a narrow coastal plain and mountains behind. In this landing south of Danang the other day, 3,500 Marines and about 3,000 naval construction engineers, plus hundreds of tanks and other vehicles, came ashore in the space of a few hours. The object of this massive logistic effort is to build a landing strip in the sand dunes from which the Marine jets can fly close support missions for Marines on the ground. Being an army within an army, the Marines have their own tank squadrons to cover their beach landings, just as they have their own air cover. On an occasion like this, all the expertise of the assembly line technique comes into play. The first step, once the beachhead is secure, is to throw out a protective screen against surprise attack by the Viet Cong. The next step, logically, is the patrol in depth. North of Danang, at the village of Lê My, 2-3 Battalion hits trouble. In a jam, a commander can always call up artillery support.
Operation began at 6 this morning. The Marines moved through the towns. There was a fight. During that fight, one of my Marines gave his life. But we cleared the town. We rounded up the males of military age and sent them in for questioning. And we intend to remain here in this town and make it a loyal, pacified city. Until this morning, the town of Lê My was very much in VC control. But Lê My belongs to me right now, and I intend to make it stay that way for a long time. We will have a continuing mission here now to safeguard the people, to work hand in hand with Vietnamese national forces in building the loyalty and the economy and the political outlook of these people so that they will not be subject to Viet Cong influence in the future.
Fanning out from Danang, the Marines' basic plan is to drive the Viet Cong out of the villages, up into the mountains where there's nothing but jungle. These patrols are no picnic. The shade temperature in the middle of the day is about 90 degrees, and in the rice paddies there's no shade at all. Nothing but the sun above and water in mud beneath. Not that you can drink the water unless you want to get dysentery. For the Marine foot soldier, the grunts as they're called, thirst is a more recognizable and often a more real enemy than the Viet Cong. But the Viet Cong are real enough. On these patrols you nearly always have the feeling that you're being observed by an unseen enemy, that you're in a sniper's sight.
It's a new kind of warfare for the Marine Corps. I don't know, we have our tactics that we run and practice and training, and this is quite different. We use the same kind of tactics here, a fire maneuver and assaulting through positions, but it's no, you have no line to assault. You have these, just like I say, it's numerous snipers here, there, and everywhere, and it makes it difficult to even tell where the shot comes from. As you come into the village, you always get this sniper fire, it never fails. And we invariably take casualties once in a while, return fire, and by the time we get to the villages, these VC are gone. And it makes it very difficult and very frustrating for us.
In Viet Cong villages, booby traps litter the paths, so well concealed that you can't see them until it's too late. And their crude trip mines can do a lot of damage.
Come in. Ow! Andy, man. Come on, there.
Got a rifle? Clear it.
Ow! Squeeze it.
Hang on.
What a way to go home, huh? Ow, God!
Where's his bag? Grab his bag, take it out, Arnold. Let's go, hurry up!
Have we got word back to blood circulating?
I go see about the other. They got a smoke grenade out there?
The Marines admit they don't know much about guerrilla warfare yet. But in a year's time, they reckon, they'll know a lot more. And if that's not enough, they're quite prepared to take 2 years. That's the frame of mind they're in.
Any major Viet Cong attack on the base would have to roll them up first, which brings us back to our original question, could Danang become another Dien Bien Phu?
The biggest single difference between the war which the French lost in Vietnam and the war which the Americans are busy fighting is the factor of air power. French air power was negligible. American air power is overwhelming. It's true, of course, that the Viet Cong could do a lot of damage to the Danang base by a sneak mortar attack close in. But any major movement of troops would almost inevitably be detected and hammered to pieces by American jets, like the Marine Phantoms, the hottest operational aircraft in the world. Almost all the missions flown by the Marine Phantoms so far have been in South Vietnam itself against the Viet Cong. Practically none have been against the North, despite the Phantom's claim to be one of the most advanced aircraft in the world. The Phantoms are crewed by only 2 men, the pilot and the radar operator. Between them, they do the lot: navigation, bombing, rocketing, and air-to-air combat.
Yeah, I hope so.
Four aircraft on an I-4 strike interdiction mission. Your forward air controller is going to be Pink Panther on primary frequency 236.6 with a secondary frequency of 275.8. Your targets for today, gentlemen, are in the south of the Danang area. We've got 4 VC battalions located at the following coordinates: Bravo Sierra 437-960 and Bravo Sierra 400957. Your time on station will be 1425 local for your rendezvous, and your time on target will be 1430. Your ordnance load for this afternoon will be 6 500-pound GPs, 2 1,000-pound firebombs, and 4 pods of either Zuni rockets or 2 75-inch folding fin rockets. Your forward air controller will mark all targets and will call for the type ordnance desired on each target.
The Phantom's a real nice plane to fly, probably one of the easiest and at the same time the most difficult planes that I've ever flown. It's an easy plane to fly, it's very forgiving and has an excessive power that will get you out of many close calls that another aircraft probably wouldn't get you out of. At the same time, it's very difficult to fly because it is such a sophisticated aircraft and it has such an advanced ordnance and such an advanced weapon system. We deliver various types of ordnance here in Vietnam: rockets, bombs, napalm. We're here to do a job, and right now that job is to destroy, to kill the enemy to the best of our ability. And this I like to think we're doing. I like combat personally. It's the kind of thing that every Marine, I think every soldier or every sailor looks forward to. It's part of your job, it's part of your business. It's really your life. If you don't see combat, you're really not the complete soldier, the complete Marine.